Most mornings you wake up feeling like you could use a couple extra hours of sleep. You're a zombie until you've had a couple cups of coffee. Then throughout the day, your energy levels are inconsistent and you notice these massive energy swings. And by end of day, you feel exhausted, burnt out, and ready to pass out. Yet despite getting enough sleep, you repeat the same day over and over. You feel like your body is in a constant state of jet lag and it never seems to quite catch up. And to be honest with you, you're probably neglecting one of the most important aspects of your health, your circadian rhythm. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a 4-step framework to align your circadian rhythm so you can boost your energy, reduce stress, and begin to get truly restorative sleep. Now, before we get started, I want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Trevor, and I help growing entrepreneurs and professionals achieve consistent, high-quality sleep. And my circadian rhythm used to be totally out of whack. I used to go to bed and wake up at completely different times. I would get minimal light during the day and blast myself with blue light at night, and my exercise and meal timing was never consistent. And after I finally aligned my circadian rhythm, it helped me boost my energy, reduce stress, and massively help me out with my sleep. So what is our circadian rhythm? Our circadian rhythm is our body's internal clock, and it runs on roughly a 24-hour time frame, and it dictates things like when we get hungry, when we feel alert, when we feel sleepy, and it dictates many of the systems that control our energy, stress, and recovery. And when somebody's circadian rhythm is unaligned, they often experience shallow sleep, they're more stressed out, and they have worse stress tolerance, they have unstable energy levels, and they usually feel like they're in a constant state of jet lag. For somebody with an aligned circadian rhythm, they get much deeper sleep, they have reduced stress and a higher stress tolerance, and they also have improved energy levels, and they feel like their body is in a state of stability and harmony. So why is your circadian rhythm unaligned? And it's probably for a different couple of reasons. Firstly, you're probably not managing light in the right way. Right now, you're probably not getting enough light in the morning and afternoon, and then getting too much light at night. And this isn't your fault. This is the reality of modern living. We're living inside, working at our desk, and we usually don't get outside too often, and we don't get that good sunlight that tells our body it's the daytime. And then at night, instead of getting less light, we get more light through our overhead lights, our devices, and we end up sending the signal to our body that it is daytime. We kind of have it flipped backwards, and that's the sad reality of modern living. Researchers at the University of Colorado did a study where they compared the modern light and dark cycle with the natural light and dark cycle. And what they did was they took a group of people who were living in this modern light and dark cycle, and they took them camping. And what they found was that when these people were living in the modern light and dark cycle, their internal body clocks were pushed forward. But once they took them out camping and had them experience the natural light and dark cycle, they found that their circadian rhythm began to realign. In other words, this means that our modern light and dark cycles are a major contributing factor to our circadian misalignment. Now, the next reason that your circadian rhythm is unaligned is because you have an inconsistent wake-up time. Either you're waking up at a different time every single day, or your wake-up time differs from the weekdays to the weekends. You might have work during the week and have to wake up at 7 a.m. and then on the weekends you like to go out, or you just like to sleep in and you're waking up at 10 or even 11 a.m. And what this does is it creates this jet lag effect. And a study was done by Till Ronberg, who is a famous circadian scientist, and he calls this practice social jet lag, where the time you get up on the weekdays vastly differs from the time when you get up on the weekends. And what this does to your circadian rhythm is it shifts it later, and it has a similar effect to you traveling across time zones. So for example, traveling from San Francisco all the way to New York. And this happens every weekend, and it can create this constant jet lag feeling throughout the week. And this inconsistent wake up time is most likely contributing to why you're waking up feeling unrefreshed and why you have this lingering jet lag feeling. And an important clarification I want to make is that the wake up time itself does not actually have much to do with our circadian rhythm. But what it does, it gives us the opportunity to get morning sunlight at the same time every day. And morning sunlight is what sets our circadian rhythm, which we'll get into later. But I just want to clarify that it is not the wake up time itself, but it is because you're delaying your morning sunlight window by waking up later. Now, the next reason that your circadian rhythm is unaligned is because you have inconsistent meal times. Right now, you're probably eating when you feel like it. You don't really have set meal times in place, and you often eat in a different size window every single day. Your meals are at different frequencies. So some days you might have 2 or 3 meals, while other days you might have 4 or 5. And then you also eat different size meals at different times. And this all is contributing to your circadian misalignment. And what it's doing is it's throwing the supporting internal clocks out of whack, like in the gut, the liver, the muscles, and those are being misaligned, which is contributing to your overall circadian rhythm misalignment. And a study done by circadian researcher Sophia Verhan found that eating at inconsistent meal times contributed to the misalignment of the supporting clocks. And this contributed to the overall misalignment of their circadian rhythms. And what they also found was that eating at inconsistent meal times contributed to things like unstable energy, blood sugar swings, and messed up hunger signals. Now, the last reason that your circadian rhythm is unaligned is because you're not exercising at the right times. You're either not getting enough exercise throughout the day, you're exercising too late at night and too intensely, or you're not getting enough exercise in the first couple hours of waking. A study was done by sleep researcher Orfu Buxton, and he showed that exercise can actually shift our circadian timing depending on when it's performed. So, for example, if somebody performs intense exercise late at night, they're essentially telling their body, hey, it's daytime. No need to produce melatonin right now. Let's shift our circadian rhythm to later. And what's that doing is it is delaying their circadian rhythm, delaying the release of melatonin, increasing their core body temperature, and making it much harder to actually fall asleep. And that is what incorrect exercise timing can do. You're going to send the wrong signals to your body about what time of day it is. So now that we know what we're doing wrong, how can we actually achieve circadian rhythm alignment? And the first step is through managing light correctly. Light is by far the biggest lever when it comes to aligning our circadian rhythm. And if you do not manage light correctly, then these other cues like correct exercise timing, consistent wake times, consistent meal timings become far less impactful. And the reason for this is because these cues are here to reinforce our circadian rhythm. But what light does, light sets our circadian rhythm for the day. It sets our master internal clocks, and that dictates the schedule for our bodies for that given day. You can think of our bodies kind of like a factory. Light is the owner of the factory, and light sets the main schedule for all the other departments within the factory to follow: the liver, the gut, the muscles. And without light, these departments can still function, but they're not going to be in sync with each other. So the overall performance of the factory is going to significantly decrease because all the departments are doing their own thing. And that is why it's so crucial to get light. Again, it sets the main schedule for the body. Now, we want to manage sunlight throughout the entire day. And sunlight is going to be most important in the morning because, again, this is what sets our circadian rhythm. It's what sets our body schedule for the day. And when it's a nice sunny day, you want to get 5 to 10 minutes of sunlight into your eyes. Now, you do not need to directly stare into the sun. Instead, you just need to be outside in sunlight to set your circadian rhythm. Now, when it's a more cloudier day, you want to bump that number up to 10 to 20 minutes of sunlight. And then if it's a wintry day, it's overcast, it's snowing, or it's raining, or it's just really gloomy outside, you want to bump that up all the way to 30 to 60 minutes. Now, a couple of tips when we are getting sunlight. You want to avoid wearing sunglasses because this is just going to make the light far less effective at actually setting your circadian rhythm. And the same is true when it comes to staring at sunlight through the window. Does it help? Yes, but it's still not great. It's 10 to 100 times less effective effective than if you were to go outside and actually be in the sunlight directly. Now, if you live somewhere that experiences some pretty heavy winters, or you just can't get out in the sun that day for whatever reason, then I'd highly recommend you investing into a SAD lamp. And what a SAD lamp does is it's this super bright light that helps us set our circadian rhythm. These lights produce up to 10,000 lux. I think some of them can actually go even higher than that. And it's just a great alternative for setting your circadian rhythm. Although one point to mention is it's far less effective at actually setting your circadian rhythm and not as beneficial for you as actually getting outside and getting some sunlight. And this is the SAD lamp that I have, the Circadian Optics Lumos 2.0, and I've had it for a couple of years. It's great. It's very portable. You can bring it to travel, and it sits on my desk. It's not too big, and I enjoy it. So if you do want to invest something like this, then I'd recommend checking out this product. And when it comes to actually getting morning sunlight, what you can do is you can go outside, have your cup of coffee, you can look at your to-do list for the day while being outside in the sun, or you can even go for a walk in the sun. That's what I personally do. And all of those are effective ways to get your sunlight. And again, if it's a sunny day, you only need 5 to 10 minutes. It's not really that big of a time commitment. And again, it is by far the most important factor for setting your circadian rhythm. So do not sleep on this, guys. And for the afternoon, we want to aim to get at least 1 to 3 hours of sunlight. And this is going to reinforce our circadian rhythm and tell our bodies, hey, it is still daytime. Let's still stay alert. Let's still stay energized, and let's keep getting through our day. And for the 1 to 3 hour target, some of you may have cringed at like that. Like, I don't have that much time. And that's totally fine. Do as much as you can. Again, the morning light is going to be the most important. And this is just going to be a really nice to have. And not only is it going to reinforce your circadian rhythm, but studies have shown that it can boost our energy, increase our mood, increase our focus. So being in the sun is just very beneficial for us as humans. And some ways you can be in the sun are taking breaks and going on a walk, eating lunch outside, or taking sales calls outside are all great ways to get more sunlight throughout the day. Now, how we manage light in the evening differs from how we manage light in the day. And one cool trick that you can do is watch the sunset, and that's going to signal to your body that darkness is coming, and it's going to help your body start preparing for sleep earlier. And it's going to strengthen the alignment of your circadian rhythm. But something far more important than watching the sunset is to avoid blue light and bright lights. So what we want to do is wear blue light blocking glasses when we're on our phones, TV, or laptops. And we're also going to want to dim the lights. And we want to do this 2 to 3 hours before bed to, again, send that signal to our body that it's no longer daytime, it is nighttime. Now, the next way we can set our circadian rhythm is by waking up at the same time every day. And like I mentioned earlier, this actually has no effect on our circadian rhythm. What really matters is by waking up at the same time every day, we're giving our body an opportunity to consistently get morning sunlight in the same window and consistently set our rhythm at the same time every day. In this context, you can think of morning sunlight like the daily meeting to set your circadian rhythm. It's the meeting to set your body's schedule. And when you sleep in, you delay this meeting. And because you delay the meeting, you delay your body schedule, you delay your circadian rhythm. So that's why it's so important to maintain a consistent wake up time so you can give your body the same consistent window to get your morning sunlight and set your circadian rhythm. So we want to pick a wake time we can stick to on the weekdays and on the weekends. And you can be off with this wake time by 30 to 60 minutes in either direction. So for example, say your chosen wake time is 7 a.m. It's completely fine if one day you wake up at 7:30 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. or even 6 a.m. some days and 8 a.m. other days. When you really run into trouble is when your weekday wake time is vastly different from your weekend wake time. So we want to generally avoid that. Now, some of you may be asking, what about a consistent sleep time? And while that's important for sleep, it's far less important for your circadian rhythm. So I want to get too hung up on it. And the benefits of a consistent wake time are not just giving ourselves the opportunity to anchor our circadian rhythm for morning light, but they're also waking up more refreshed, less of that jet lag feeling, and then also building up enough sleep pressure throughout the day so we can fall asleep faster at night. And it also improves our sleep quality by waking up at the same time every day. Now, the next way we can align our circadian rhythm is by eating at consistent times. And by having consistent meal times, what that does is it syncs up our supporting clocks with the master clock, and this further strengthens our circadian rhythm alignment. Now, the most important aspect with meal timing is that you have your first bite and last bite at roughly the same time every day. Again, this can be off by 30 to even 60 minutes. But the reason this is so important is because it's reinforcing your circadian rhythm. With the first bite, we're telling our body, hey, the day is starting, we need to digest some food, let's get it going. And with the last bite, we're saying, hey, the day is ending, no more food to digest. And this is just going to further reinforce our circadian rhythm. Now, one important point I wanted to make is that anything with calories counts as the first bite or last bite. So if you're having tea or coffee, that also counts as well. So just be aware of that. Now, one more important aspect is eating within an 8 to 12 hour eating window. So we want to have our first bite and last bite within this 8 to 12 hour window. So for example, if you are having your first bite at 7 a.m., your last bite should be at 7 p.m. And the benefits of this are a reinforcement of your circadian rhythm, also improved insulin sensitivity, better digestion at night, and you're going to get more metabolic benefits because you have a longer metabolic reset overnight. This can include fat loss, muscle building, and it can be really beneficial besides just circadian rhythm reinforcement. Now, when it comes to meal sizing and eating roughly the same size meal at the same time every day, and then also eating at a similar meal frequency every day, it's going to be far less important for our circadian rhythm alignment than eating a consistent first bite and last bite, and then also eating in a consistent eating window. Now, the next way we can align our circadian rhythm is by exercising at the correct times. And this is very similar to keeping consistent meal times. What this is going to do is it's going to sync up our supporting clocks with our master clock and further reinforce our circadian rhythm alignment. And by doing exercise throughout the day with something like walking, we can tell our bodies it's daytime and further reinforce our circadian rhythm. Now, it's important to get some form of light exercise within 2 hours of waking to further reinforce our circadian rhythm. You can also do intense exercise, but what's typically recommended by circadian researchers is to do a light form of exercise. I personally go for my walk, get some sunlight, and it's a great way to start the day. Now, the next time frame that you want to exercise is between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. And this is best suited for intense exercise. And it was one of the best time frames to exercise if you want to maximize performance. And many Olympic records have actually been broken in this time frame. And then the last thing we want to be aware of is exercising at consistent times every day also helps reinforce our circadian rhythm. Again, you can be off by 30 to even 60 minutes in either direction. Now, I wanted to provide a quick example routine of what somebody with a aligned circadian rhythm would look like. So this individual wakes up at 7 a.m., but then they eat breakfast 15 minutes later, having their first bite. And then after that, they go for a walk and get some morning sunlight to set their circadian rhythm. Then they have work all day. And throughout the day, they're taking breaks. They're trying to prioritize getting outside and getting some movement. And they're having lunch outside to further reinforce their circadian rhythm. Then at 5 p.m., they work out and hit an intense workouts. Then they have dinner at 7 p.m. and try to have their last bite by 7:15 p.m. to keep it inside a 12-hour window. And then at 9 p.m., they avoid blue light to tell their bodies it is time for bed and it's time to start preparing for bed. And then after that, they go to bed at 11 p.m. And if you follow this routine or something like it, you will be 95% of the way there when it comes to aligning your circadian rhythm. Now, I want to quickly recap on how we actually align our circadian rhythm. So first, we need to manage light correctly. We need to get morning sunlight to set our circadian rhythm. We need to get sunlight in the afternoon to reinforce our circadian rhythm. And then we need to avoid light at night so we can can tell our bodies it is nighttime, not daytime. Then we need to wake up at the same time every day in order to give our bodies the opportunity to get morning sunlight and set our circadian rhythm. After that, we need to eat at a consistent time every day. Specifically, we need to eat our first bite and last bite at roughly the same time every day. And then step 4 is to exercise throughout the day, and then also exercise at a consistent time every single day. And if you do those steps, your circadian rhythm is going to be pretty much all the way aligned. Imagine waking up feeling refreshed and energized without needing to pound cups of coffee. And imagine being able to have consistent energy levels throughout the day and not have these massive energy swings. Imagine being able to fall asleep faster and improve your quality of sleep. And imagine not feeling like you're constantly in a state of jet lag and being able to improve your physical and mental performance. That is the power of aligning your circadian rhythm. And that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below in the comments and I will respond to them.